22 is continued discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told, eliminate all good sculptures from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms. And point 23 is control art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art. Now, you laugh, and I'm sure maybe people in the chat are laughing, going, really? You guys just talked about all this heavy stuff, and now you're going to be talking about this? Guys, this is key to a lot of this.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give an idea of why this is key. This goes into the psychology of things. We just talked about how the different ways of getting people to conform to these new agendas that they want to push through and everything. And part of that is to destroy the morale of people. It is to wake up the psyche of just accepting the bland and getting rid of all creativeness of a human. So we see things of toppling beautiful historical statues during the riots and the woke agenda. Yeah. We saw the removal of beautiful architecture, and it's replaced by bland, boring, flat, uninspired modern buildings. The destruction of a person's morale and imagination and creativeness will cause these people to just fall in line. The best example that I've ever heard on this, and surprisingly enough, it actually came from an obscure 2000 movies. You ever see the movie Triple X with Vin Diesel?
Yeah, I did, unfortunately. That's an hour and a half of my life I will never get back.
When I was a kid, I loved it. It was like the anti-James Bond. It was supposed to be.
Yeah. But dude, I bet you $1 million that the industry for those little white tank tops never sold as many white tank tops ever as during the tenure of Vin Diesel, man.
True.
All I gotta say.
But in that movie, there's a line that Samuel L. Jackson talks about, the lion in the cage. And this is exactly what it is, because if you take a wild lion and you put him in captivity for long enough, he will lose all sense of the beast, that drive, the warrior instinct. I don't remember the exact term he said, but that's the best thing we got. So if you're going to do that to humans, but you have to do it on an open public scale, how do you do that? You remove all the creativeness, you destroy the art, and you make their surroundings as boring and bland as possible. So you lose the warrior instinct of a human.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing with this. That's why this is so key and so important.
Yeah, it's huge. There was a cartoon, actually, now that you were talking about that. There was a cartoon they did. I'm trying to remember what it was. These zoo animals and the lion.
Madagascar.
Thank you. Madagascar. And dude, I'm telling you, predictive programming, dude.
Yeah.
True. Right? But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, some of the stuff, I was laughing because it says to promote ugliness, repulsive, and meaningless art. Listen, we have plenty of that. I love art. My degree is in graphic design. I like art. But again, unfortunately, the word art has become a term that is it's relative. Unfortunately, what's art to you might not be art to me. And using the guise of art, we've allowed society to use garbage and to put out garbage as artwork. In the name of art, they put out just these disgusting, immoral, pornographic images, right?
Yep.
And that's not just in fine art. That's also in photography. That's also in literature, in so many areas of art. But what they're talking about here is some of the stuff that they've. I'm sure your viewers remember. How can they not? During the riots and when they were tearing down all those wonderful, beautiful statues of our history, or defacing them. And look, I need to repent of some of my thoughts, because I remember watching one of the videos and this dude was climbing this super tall statue and he slipped and he fell. And
That's just slapstick comedy, man.
you know what? I can't sit here and tell you that I was, bummed out that he hurt himself. I was more like, dude, serves you right. What are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. But I repent. I know they all need Jesus, but this is purposely planned. You take these down and you replace them with stuff so the coming generations have no clue what their history is about. And there's not, you had a great picture, I think, right? Of one of them.
I've got several examples here. So we're on statues. Let's talk about statues here. Here's the recent Boston MLK monument, which is a version, if you look up the real picture, of MLK hugging a woman. I don't remember which woman it was, but this is supposed to be representative of that. And honestly, if you look at 23, it says promote ugliness, repulsive, and meaningless art. And then if you look at 22, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms. I'm sorry, but that is an awkward and meaningless form.
Yeah,
if you look at that.
That thing's ugly. That is ugly. I don't know where, I don't see MLK in there.
No, I don't. It's meaningless. It's awkward. And that's what it is. And then if you look at modern architecture, it's about buildings and museums and stuff like this. You look at the 50s McDonald's in the top left, and it's gorgeous. There's character, there's creativeness, there's color. Then you look at every McDonald's and Taco Bell and KFC and every fast food joint, strip malls, they all look like the bottom left, where it's just a bland, boring, characterless building. Then you look at the top right, which is the inside of a McDonald's from the 80s. There's, I mean, it's horrendous in a design aspect, but it's creative and it's colorful, and there's things there to inspire children, because obviously it's targeted towards children. It's targeted to bring out the creativeness and their imagination and everything. Well, you look at what McDonald's is now at the bottom right. It's a bunch of screens with bland white tables that look like you're sitting in a mental institution.
Well, dude, I look at the one on the top, and as a kid, if I was a kid, I'd be like, dude, sign me up. I'm going to that McDonald's, right? That's why kids wanted to go to McDonald's. They had the ultimate playgrounds. It was McDonald's, not Burger King, was the place to be. And I'll even tell you this. I'm sure we got third-degree burns sliding down those aluminum slides.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
But they don't have that anymore. They closed all those down, and they turned them into these, just like, seriously, what kid would want to go in there, man? No kid. None of these buildings that they're doing now are inviting to kids. None of them are.
No, and they're bland, boring boxes with muted colors.
Yep, that's all it is. And again, this isn't going to get any better. We're moving towards a place where technology, they said the advent of email, the advent of the pager, for those of you that remember the pager, and then the onset of the cell phone. I owned a pager. Sometimes I'd like to have a pager instead of a cell phone again. But they said this would draw people together and it was going to unify people. It's done the complete opposite. Technology, unfortunately, on multiple levels, has made people more isolated and not brought people together. But that is one of the things that they want to do. We want to isolate people. We want to get them apart, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I have to say, unfortunately, the arts have been suffering for many decades. It's just a whole lot worse now just because of the perversion. And we could just say, all right, there you go. There's one. I mean, I could scribble like that.
That is contemporary art by Cy Twombly, and these go for anywhere from 2 million to 18 million a piece.
Dude, I could do that. No joke.
Dude, a 3-year-old just does that every day with a coloring book.
Yeah, I could do that. Give me a super soaker loaded with paint, and I could do that. Like, no joke.
And then there's this. If you look at the logo transformation from artistic logos to just plain lettering.
Yep.
Obviously, we've got the horrific satanic Balenciaga and Yves Saint Laurent.
Yep.
I've done a whole dive on those if you want to check them out. But you just look at it. The Google went from this nice. I'm not an artist, but it has like this weird type of thing to regular lettering. Microsoft had their thing, Airbnb, Spotify, all these companies, and you can take it further from soda to food to all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's all blanding it. It's getting rid of any ounce of creativity and making it as absolutely bland as possible.
Well, actually, put that back up if you don't mind. Let me point something out because I love logos. One of my favorite things to do is to design logos. And if you guys look to all the logos, whether it's in the tech column or the fashion side, on the left, you see individuality. Each one of these companies had individuality, but the guise of communism is to bring everybody under one umbrella.
Beautiful.
There cannot be individuality. And if you look at the logos on the right, they all have what's called sans serif. Most of them have sans serif fonts, and they're all very squared off. Very squared off. There are no serif points. There are no curves. There's no beauty. There's no flow to these logos. They are very boring, but at the end of the day, they all fall in line with what they're trying to do, which is everybody looks the same. It's under this one, the guise of one umbrella, right? Everybody's got to look the same. There can't be any individuality. It's a one world government kind of thing, right? A new world order, and we all have to look the same and play the same part. So crazy.
Dude, beautiful point. That's fantastic. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. And it's true. Biggest thing, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie 1984, but everybody wears a basic gray outfit.
Yep.
That's what they wear, everybody. And it's all about being in uniform. And yeah, that's exactly what you said with the logos. Everything is about looking the same and being in uniform.
Yep.
Just like all the buildings.
Yep.
All looking the same, muted colors in uniform.
Oh, how fun. Isn't it fun? Oh, wow. The spice of life.
And that's the thing is you do that for years and years and years. You destroy the inspiration, the imagination, the creativeness. You destroy the morale, and people just start falling in line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure most of your viewers remember. You guys could look up on YouTube. I'm surprised they still have it, but you could go look up the Third Reich's book burning rallies. They would have these big mountains, and it would be youth. The majority of those that were throwing the books in there was youth. And if you can get rid of our history, if you could get rid of the things that, you know, the mistakes and the good and the bad, at the end of the day, there I go spinning again. You know what? You can create a society of your choice. You could create it however you want. You tear one down and then you build it up in a uniform way, the way that you want it. And that's exactly what we're seeing on every facet. So, you know, homie Cleon, I mean, oh man, I got his name all confused. Cleon Skousen. Wow. I mean, he was onto something. He was totally onto something. And Mormon or not, the guy just saw this crystal clear. And again, you know, these are just a handful of them out of 40, 45. So, and we can spend so much time just in the art, just in the art. One of the artists that, and I know, world, there I go spinning again.
You're unfrozen, so I think that's a good sign.
Okay, so one of the areas of art that I've always liked, just because of the use of the color and the message they were trying to convey, even though it was propaganda, was what you call constructivism. And the Russians were the masters at constructivist art. I have a book over here. I'm sure it's somewhere around here. Yeah, I'm sure it is. But it's all artwork, Russian constructivist artwork. And their whole premise was, we've got to get this message across, and this is the way to do it. And they were masters at it. And the Cubans followed it. And so there's this entire movement afoot. There's one artist in particular who took that artwork and he capitalized on it, even though he's a big-time socialist. His name's Shepard Fairey. And Shepard Fairey owns a company called Obey. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, if I show you the logo of Obey, you guys would be like, oh, I totally know who that is. Let me go ahead and show you guys what the Obey logo is. And you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So this is the Obey logo right here. I'm sure a bunch of you guys have seen it. But Shepard Fairey, you guys could see that the colors he uses are very socialist colors, black, red. Again, my favorite colors, black and red. Unfortunately, they used it in this way, but I can scroll through here and just show you. The first thing that comes to your mind, I'm sure, is communism, right? Because
I'm also seeing the TV guy from They Live on a couple of them.
I'm not. Yeah. So the guy here on the logo, the original logo, which is this one, this is Andre the Giant, and his whole push was, Andre the Giant's got a posse, and so what Shepard Fairey was able to do was, again, in the art, and the reason why they really invested heavily in this movement was because of what's behind Obey, right? What's behind Shepard Fairey. For example, Shepard Fairey created the campaign logo. I believe it was for the Obama campaign.
The peace, that one, or change or something like that.
A change one, yeah, change.
Okay,
poster. Yeah, change poster.
They had that muted red, white, and blue.
This one right here. So, folks, I'm sure you remember this one. So Shepard Fairey was the one responsible for this poster, and this one as well right here. Be the change, right? This is in 2009. So, again, this is an ideology that he did this one as well. And if I show you, again, because I'm really familiar with this type of artwork, with the kind of propaganda they're trying to push, this is the kind of stuff that gets into people's minds. It's this simplicity, it's the message, and believe it or not, it gets in your head. And when you see it over and over and over again, the message that they're trying to portray gets through. It gets through. And there's something about the colors they use as well. It's red, blue, a type of blue, and it's an off-white. So some people might go, oh, it's the American colors. Well, no, not really. They use it in such a way that conveys a different message. I can show you super patriotic posters, and I won't do that now, versus these posters, and the message they each one of them convey using the same exact colors are totally different, because imagery comes in through the eyes, goes in the mind, and then if it can go from the mind to the heart, sold, done deal. And that's where we're at when it comes to the arts. It's crazy. Watch what your kids are listening to, pay attention to what they're watching, pay attention to the clothes brands that they're wearing. I can't tell you enough how many of these clothes brands are satanic at the core. I worked in the industry. I know this stuff. And you did a show all specifically on Balenciaga, and Balenciaga is just a drop in the bucket. And that's what you would call high-end fashion. But what like, for example, I worked in the action sports industry, which is the ASI industry, and this is there too. It's all there. So it's important that check the companies that you're investing money in, or you're buying clothes for your kids. Because I see kids wear this stuff all the time, and I'm going, dude, if their parents knew what this stuff really stands for, I'm sure they probably wouldn't allow them to wear it. But
well, and part of that too is just a little note here is, yeah, you look at things like the high-end stuff, Balenciaga, Yves Saint Laurent, and all that stuff, but you got to realize that they're only one brand that's connected to a parent company. And so you got to look at stuff like Adidas and Nike and the more affordable things that all the kids want to wear and everything. That's all a part of the same thing. And it goes deeper. We just talked about like the child trafficking involved with it, but there's the spiritual aspect of it. Even something like drinking Monster. Take a look at what Monster is about if you want to get into that type of stuff too.
And I'm not saying don't get clothes. Obviously, I like Vans. I wear Vans, and Vans is all about, punk. And again, I used to be big time in the punk scene, and I listen to punk music and metal. And Vans is that culture. That is the culture that Vans skatewear is all about. But you also have to remember, for example, one big push that Vans is doing is smoking weed and the earth and worshiping the earth and smoking out and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, you're never going to see me wearing, hey, let's smoke out kind of shirt, right? But I like Vans. I wear their shoes. I just dig them. And so we're not telling you, seriously, if you had to avoid and boycott everything, we literally would probably be walking around like Adam and Eve pre-sin. And we don't want to do that. We did
not
that.
eating anything, not
Yeah.
doing anything. Yeah.
So balance, right? Balance. Sorry, dude, I took up all that time.
No, we're good, man. We're good. I'm glad that we spent some time on that one because I think that's one that a lot of people would overlook, but it truly is extremely important.
Yep.
What's going on with
Yeah,
this.
and again, let me just also say, music. Music is there's a huge influence within music as well. I used to listen to a band. Don't judge me. I don't listen to them anymore. I used to listen to a band called Rage Against the Machine.
Now they're raging for the machine.
Yeah, now they're raging for the machine. But if I showed you some of their album covers, you would go, "Oh wow, yeah, totally." I mean, I could show you. Here is some of their artwork. You could see down here. Let me see if I can bring that up a bit. There's the fist to resist, right? That's a communist symbol of resistance. This was one of their albums.
There's the star.
There's the communist star. Absolutely. Yep. Let me see if I could. Trying to figure out where I'm at, dude.
Well, just their lyrics, if people don't realize, because I know Rage Against the Machine too. It's all political. Everything about it is political.
Yeah, but one thing that's funny is their front man, Zach De La Rocha, this guy right here, he's talking about all this oppression and the Indians' oppression and the government oppression. The guy's like comes from money. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so it's do as I say, not as I do. And it's something that we need to keep in mind. Hey, look, also, this is music that I'm sure most of you guys weren't aware of. I used to listen to all this stuff, but don't think that it's not in pop music either. And I know that this podcast isn't about music. We just got on this, but don't think that this ideology doesn't come through in pop music and other popular music as well, because it does. It's not just relegated to this kind of music, it's everywhere. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, you're good, man. You're good. No, I'm digging it. I'm digging it for sure. Because you were in that, you are in that, and you have that other side of knowledge that I don't. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I was big time into it. Don't do it.